What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, back with another step-by-step combo tutorial. If you don't know what that's all about, basically, I find combos from around the Yu-Gi-Oh community. A lot of the times I like to look at YCSs, but when there isn't one around, I'll just look at videos. This one's from a DB Grinder video, which I'll link down in the description below. But the idea is that, like, when you watch them in real time, it doesn't really make sense if you don't know what the cards do. So I take the time to read them and explain the combo fully and maybe some of the ideas from the deck, right? So this is Marincess, and my impression is that it's just adding Nister, but maybe a little bit better. It makes it towers as well, but you have a lot more. Well, I feel like you have a lot more non-engine cards and maybe access to a few other cards that adding Nister simply just does not. But we'll go ahead and take a look. So you can go ahead and normal summon the Marincess Pascalis. I don't know how to say that, but basically just normal special summon. You get to special summon a Marincess monster from your hand in defense position. And then it says during your main phase, except the turn this was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Marincess spell in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is pretty decent follow-up because the spells in this deck are very good. And the trap as well, Marincess Wave, right? Which you'll see in a second, I'll explain. But you can special summon Blue Tang. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Marincess monster from your deck to the graveyard, except a copy of itself. Then if this card was sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a water monster, you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck. And if you do add one excavated Marincess card to your hand, also shuffle the rest into your deck. So we can go ahead and use that effect to, Foolish Burial, a Seahorse. And this card says you can special summon this card to your hand to a zone of Marincess link monster points to. And you can only use that effect once per turn. And then during your main phase, except the card this was turned to the graveyard, sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon a water monster from your hand to a zone of Marincess card points to, which is also a decent follow-up. They all have they've always had good effects, but it's like the boss monsters that came out were never good, and that's what kind of kept the deck from being decent at all. And now that they kind of have some better links, the deck is just much better. So we can go ahead and go into Blue Slug. If this card is link summon, you can target a Marincess in your graveyard, add it to your hand. And you can't special summon for us turn except water. So this is where it locks you. But that's fine. You're literally never going to go into anything but that. And like I talked about just before, Blue Tang lets you excavate the top 3. This is literally from the video, so it's not to say you're always going to get something, but yeah, this is just an example of a combo. And they're always going to be different. That's kind of the nature of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, it used to be this is step 1. You do this, in Yu-Gi-Oh! That just doesn't exist anymore. It's literally just hand dependent, for the most part at least. Especially when you look at Dragon Link. But Marincess Seahorse gets that free special summon, like I just explained. And then Sea Angel. So this card lets you add a Marincess spell from your deck to your hand. And luckily you have the extenders in your hand, especially Silent Angler. So that means because one of the spells lets you Monster Reborn, but because this hand it was so good, you get to search out Battle Ocean. So basically, all Marincess monsters gain 200 attack, which is kind of cool because literally all of them do. And then each one gains 600 attack for each Marincess card equipped to it, which you want to put in the main extra in the extra monster zone. And then it says Marincess are monsters you control in the extra monster that were link summoned using Marincess crystal art as material are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So that's what I was talking about with the adding Nister, the towers, whatever you want to call it. But actually, with this attack boost, makes it better than adding Nister, the Arrival, in my opinion, which is pretty neat. Okay, so when you link summon a Marincess monster to the extra monster zone, you get to equip 3 link monsters with different names, which will definitely have that. And then you can go ahead and link those 2 off into Marincess Coral Anemone. You can target a water monster with 1500 less attack in your graveyard. Special summon to a zone this card points to. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except water. That's perfectly fine. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you target a Marincess card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Which is great because one of the links brings this out. It negates by bringing out one of your equips. So when it goes to the graveyard, you just get more follow-up. And that's the thing about Marincess is they're not overly powerful. They're not going to put up super mega negate boards like Dragon Link. But everything they do, and I've talked about the secondary effects, they're all follow-up, right? Which is really great. Okay, so those are 2 4s. And go into Bahamut Shark, 2 waters, of course. And that makes Totally Awesome. So there you go. You got a non-negate there. And then you can use Spring Goals effect, banish a Marincess, special summon this card from your hand. And then if it's sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a water monster, you can send cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of Marincess cards you control. You don't always want to use this. This one's honestly kind of like a meh effect. And sometimes you don't even want to do it like in the middle of your combos, because if you don't really want to put this in the graveyard. Like, there is ways to recur it, but you'd rather use those effects for something better, right? So sometimes you literally just want to use Spring Girl. You can go ahead and link those two off, those two being the Spring Girl and the Anemone, into the Marincess Coral Triangle. You can send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard, add a Marincess trap from your deck to your hand. And the trap is very, very good. So, yep, an enemy can go ahead and add that, so sent from field to graveyard. You can add, it doesn't actually matter because you're just going to use the effect to send and add. So whatever you added back, you can just send it right back to the graveyard. And that lets you add waves. So this card, if you control a Marincess Link, target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Negate that face-up monster's effects until the end of this turn. And then if you control a Link 2 or higher Marincess, all face-up monsters you control are currently unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn, which is obviously very good. It's an imperm from your hand, and then it makes everything a towers or unaffected. And then, yeah, so Silent Angler, this card's been around for a long time. You literally just have to control a water monster, and you get to free special summon it. Then we can go ahead and activate Battle Ocean. Change those two, being the Silent Angler and the Bahamut Shark, into Crystal Heart. So, like, this stuff is all from Brains, obviously. I forget the character's name. I think Blue Angel, like, she did Trickstar in the first season, and then she changed to Marincess, and then there was a whole thing with Crystal Heart, and, like, it protecting, because, like, the AIs, like, one of them loved each other. It was crazy. Like, the anime is insane. But I remember Crystal Heart being, like, a big part of that, where, like, if you link summon using it, it's, like, really good. And that's kind of what the whole, like, idea of this is. So you can go ahead and change those two, because otherwise you can just go straight into it, but you want to have that unaffected, right? So this is like just a huge, like 4,000 unaffected body. And then you can equip all of those. And this card says, while this card is on the extra monster zone, your opponent cannot attack any monsters except this one. So it's like they can't, I don't know, if they had like Pankratops, like they couldn't just get over this and try to like go on with their day. Yeah, so you can only use it to the following effects of this card once per turn. You can target one water monster you control and one card your opponent controls, return them to the hand, which is great, pretty cool. During your opponent's turn, when a spell trap card is activated on the field, quick effect, you can special summon one of your Marincess monster cards equipped with this card, and if you do, negate the activation. So you have an Omni Negate, you have, and that was just 3 cards, obviously you're going to have 2 blanks, whatever they are. But you got like an Imperm, you have an Omni Negate, you have a Spell and Trap Negate with tons and tons and tons of follow-up, right? Like I talked about, you can special summon this card. If they somehow get over it, it's going to add back. And these are all, like a bunch of these are going to banish to give you advantage again. So it's like good luck to your opponent. Like most of the time, these are non-engine cards like hand traps, which just makes this play even better. But nothing too complicated, but I did want to go over that pretty badly because of how popular it's getting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.